Hello, how are you today? Do you want to dive into a book that might just surprise you, whether it becomes your next favorite or one you might skip? Let's find out what readers are saying about it.
Supreme Commander of South America who has 426 likes says. Spoilers 4.5. No, because why are they all so relatable? It was like reading Kenji fall in love with a version of Aaron and Juliet. Why are Kenji and Nazira not together anymore? They should have had 3 kids by now. They are for sure not ready to have kids anytime soon. Rory Break till July who has 279 likes says. James. Rossable, 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 James. Rossable with a heart heavier than a leaden tome. I must confess, Watch Me didn't just disappoint, it plunged me into a literary abyss. A single star feels like an act of charity. A mere whisper of the frustration this book induced. I lost count of the moments I teetered on the brink of a DNF. A desperate escape from the suffocating boredom. Even a younger, more forgiving version of myself would have recoiled. The writing. Oh, the writing, it possesses an immaturity that left me not just unimpressed, but actively yearning to launch the book across the room. And let's not even begin to dissect the relentless, repetitive sentences, as if the English language were a barren wasteland devoid of nuance. This book felt less like a story and more like a cruel exercise in linguistic monotony. Avoid this book at all costs, and the plot a phantom. A wisp of a thing, barely discernible beneath a deluge of overwrought quotes. Clearly designed to elicit hormonal flutters from an audience I can only assume is comprised of emotionally stunted teenagers. Instead of crafting a coherent narrative, Mafi seems content to hopscotch between vaguely dramatic scenes, prioritizing fleeting moments of manufactured intensity over genuine character development. James, the supposed sunshine boy, and Rosebell, the obligatory dark girl, are nothing more than hollow archetypes, devoid of substance or depth. Ironically, the few glimpses we get of Aaron and Juliet, mere supporting players in this theatrical disaster, cast the protagonists into stark relief, exposing them for the pathetic shadows they truly are. 10 years after the fall of the re-establishment, Ark Island remains a bastion of oppressive surveillance. Within this tense, isolated world, a dangerous game unfolds. James Anderson, determined to succeed where his brother failed, infiltrates the regime, aiming to penetrate their formidable defenses. Amidst the constant scrutiny, an unlikely and volatile connection sparks between James and Rossable Wolf. James Anderson, Aaron Warner's baby brother, a man with healing power. A fleeting vision of blue eyes and brown hair. The kind of ephemeral cuteness you glimpse on a bus or in a library, only to vanish into the ether of what could have been. But let's be honest, his charm is quickly overshadowed by a staggering lack of, well, anything resembling intelligence. The Mont's emotional range is that of a damp sponge, and his cognitive abilities seem to have taken an extended vacation. Case in point, his instant, inexplicable infatuation with Rosebell, a woman who, in their first encounter, attempted to redecorate his throat with a sharp object, and his initial, utterly baffling assumption that she was an AI. Seriously, he looked at a human being and thought, yep, that's a robot. It's a level of brain-melting stupidity that defies all logic, leaving one to wonder if he accidentally swapped brain cells with a goldfish. He is so stupid that you can't help but feel annoyed. Rosebell Wolf, a serial killer with high-tech skills masquerading as a dark, cold-hearted woman, only to reveal herself as a fragile, wilting flower as the narrative progresses. The initial promise of a ruthless, enigmatic character quickly dissolves into a portrait of weakness, a stark contrast to the image she so desperately tries to project. Orphaned and burdened with the responsibility of protecting her sister, Clara, her engagement to Sebastian feels less like a romantic entanglement and more like a desperate attempt to secure a lifeline in a world that seems determined to crush her. P.S. Perhaps, in the grand scheme of literary tastes, Watch Me simply isn't for me. I acknowledge that its blend of dystopian intrigue and tumultuous romance will undoubtedly resonate with many readers. Maybe I've simply outgrown the tropes and stylistic choices that seem to captivate a younger audience. Or maybe, just maybe, this book's flaws transcend generational divides. Regardless, while I may stand alone in my vehement dislike, I can't deny that Mafi possesses a talent for crafting worlds that ignite fervent passions. Just, unfortunately, not mine. The dead don't suffer. Rossable mic drop. Guess who's going to be up all night reading I Got the Ark? My new bookstagram roryepistolary@gmail.com. Kella, who has 111 likes, says 3.75 stars. Oh, how I missed the Shatter Me universe. I don't want to live in fear of my hands, my head, the collapsed star that is my soul. I don't want to live every day only for the promise of death. Who's afraid of little old me? My strange addiction. My thoughts. Overall, I did enjoy this, and it was so nice being back in one of my fav universes. I thought this was a fun and quick read short chapters. The plot was entertaining, though the whole Nexus thing and how the re-establishment had complete access to people's minds was creepy AF. The government's literally watching your every move, interested to see how Tahereh Mafi goes with all that. Characters. Jamesy loved him so much in this book, and seeing him all grown up, you can detect the influence from Eren and Kenji on him. I swear he was unintentionally funny, and I loved his inner dialogue. I almost lost it when he started monologuing to the raccoon. Also, why does he low-key remind me of Oak from T-Foda? Probably just BC. They're both the FMCS younger brother figure. Lol. Rossable. Yeah, so I can see why people were calling her bland. Now, she wasn't a terrible character, and I did find her backstory growing up in the re-establishment and everything interesting. It's just that she didn't show much personality. After a while, though, all her reminders to herself to be dead inside and you're dead got a little annoying. But then she meant it literally. It was sad to see how the re-establishment messed her up. But girl, are you alright? NGL. Though I feel like she started growing on me a little bit at the end. James and Rose are enemies to lovers. You say from the start James was already infatuated and flustered by her beauty and her strikingly pale complexion and hair, blue eyes, blah blah, and vice versa. Gah, I just hated the insta attraction. The way they were trying to kill each other one second, then feeling each other up the next. LMAO. But I am rooting for them nonetheless. Og characters. Oh my gosh, how I missed these characters. Seeing the Og trio, Juliet, Eren, and Kenja, made my heart so happy, and Juliet being pregnant. OMG, I am so happy for them. Warnet are gonna be parents. SSA. I forgot how much I loved Kenji. He's my fav character. Tied with Eren, I think. But him and Nazira better get back together, or I swear. Concluding thoughts. I had a great time being back in this universe, and I'll eat up any spin-offs of this series even though they're not necessarily necessary. I am excited to see where Tahereh takes this plot. Thank you to my fav girl Jasmine for reading this with me. Yapping about it with you made it an even better experience. I think it's safe to say that this buddy read made up for our other one that ended up disappointing. Haha, I love you endlessly. Quotes. In my dreams I am safe. I have a strong hand to hold, a door to lock against the dark, a trusted ear into which I whisper my fears. In my dreams I am patient and kind. I have room in my heart for more pain than my own. I am not afraid to smile at strangers. I have never witnessed death. And Kenji, I point out, Kenji inspires me on the daily. No matter what he says, I know he'd never hurt me. He's my big brother. And I genuinely love the guy. We like to give each other shit around here. But at the end of the day we'd all die for each other. No questions asked. Preridik, I can't wait to be back in the Shatter Me universe. I am looking forward to seeing James all grown up and OFC cameos of our OG characters AAA. And isn't this cover stunning, buddy? Reading this with my fav Jasmine, who is also a huge Shatter Me fan. I am so excited to read this with you, my love. Let's hope this book is much better than our last BR. Thank you for reading this with me. I love you always. Avery, who has 105 likes, says, Aaron Warner Anderson is a living legend. Hell yes, he is. I am such a hypocrite. I don't deserve to be saying such things after saying bad things about him in the last 3 Shatter Me books, but I swear Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me Warner are peak. And I just really need a reread. But anywho, this book was one of my most anticipated of the year. And of course I was a little nervous after how I hated the ending of the Shatter Me series. But this book had such a different vibe than any of those. There might be some hints as to what happened in this book in this review, to proceed with caution also. The cover on this thing is gorgeous. I got the exclusive one from Amazon with the iridescent edges, and she's stunning. The plot, since it's been so long since I read the OG series, it took me a while to remember what things were. Like the re-establishment, now that one was embarrassing once I figured it out. I felt so dumb. The New Republic, and even some characters. That did end up in me flipping back and forth a lot. But I mean, that was on me. So it didn't really hinder any of my enjoyment towards the book. The beginning was fast, and I did enjoy that since I was not in the mood for something slow. So we were just shot right into the world. The first half was definitely my more preferred half. Just following James and Rossable as they got off of the island and all that. But the second half just became more tedious and confusing. Which is disappointing, because I thought it was set up nicely to be a good double cross or something like that, and it just fell flat for reasons that will be said later in this review. Also, I don't know if my book had a misprint or something, but the ending felt so abrupt. I don't even remember how the book ends. That's my fault, guys, but I do remember being almost done with the book and there still being so much plot left. So I don't even know. It's simple logic if we believe our choices are our own. If we do not know, we are being bent into obeisance. We will not be tempted to revolt. The characters, here's where I can finally talk, and it's very unfortunate. I've actually seen a lot of people saying Rossable was annoying or boring, and I for once have my own opinion and think that she wasn't that bad. I enjoyed her chapters and character, and learning more about her backstory. I love ruthless characters that are forged to be that way, not that I like that they were forged to be that way, but they're just interesting to read about. I swear, like, I genuinely was entertained and interested in reading her inner thoughts as she struggled to remember and maintain her own sense of self and being. Now James, I did like him in the beginning, but oh my goodness, he was immature. I am guessing that's got something to do with his trauma. I low-key remember nothing about his backstory, but I swear he was just being stupid at times. He's legally not even a child anymore in this, but he very much acted like one. His jokes were so repetitive and unnecessary at times. I enjoyed it in the beginning and I was like, oh, so he's like Kenji, but it became so much. He's a knockoff Kenji. He's a combo of Warner and Kenji. But if you dumbed those two down, and he had like no Warner in him except by relation. And he pissed me off so bad during the ending. Because why was he so trusting to the girl he literally kept calling a serial killer? He was choosing her over his family, which makes no freaking sense. He was just so naive. And I do feel bad. But Buddy's brother is literally Warner, and I know Warner raised him better than that. And when he talked back to Warner, I wanted to hit him because he knows NOTHINGGG. Dilf Warner, Dilf Warner. I don't know why, but I didn't even think about him being older in this book, and UGGGHHH, I love him so much, bro. He's just so smart, amazing, incredible, attractive, and he's literally the blueprint book guy. And the way he cares for Juliet in this, I can OOOOTWE didn't really see Juliet as much in this. And I admit, I was a Juliet hater. Probably still would be. But she was sweet in this. Look guys, the last 3 Shatter Me books ruined everything for me. I swear I still like them all. Kenji my sweet was also better. His jokes are better than Jameis anyways. And at least he's actually got some rational thoughts. Unlike that guy. Poor Kenji though. I felt so bad growing up with these two, has ruined me for regular relationships. I want what they have, don't we all? James the romance, this is where it gets batty. Literally have an update during this book where I was like, oh, I am liking the progression of this romance. It's not too fast, blah blah blah. But that was before James and Rossable described each other's physical features 15 million times. I was fine with it at first because I can accept attraction at first sight, but I don't need multiple paragraphs describing Jameis' perfect brown hair, freckles, chiseled body, or her ghostly blonde hair and just as ghostly pale skin with her unblinking orbs. Like, please. I was actually getting so annoyed because it continues throughout the entire book. Their hearts were always racing when they saw each other. Skin tingling. Blah blah blah. And I know Rossable was trained better than to lust over a handsome guy. Like, I can understand her. But she's literally a serial killer. Not only that, but there was hardly any chemistry. When they were together in the beginning, they wanted to kill each other, of course. And then when they make it back to the New Republic, James is suddenly more interested in her and wants to spend all his time with her. It made no sense. They do more looking at each other than talking anyways. And then we get back to the ending again, which continued to make no sense. As I said, they do more staring than talking. So who did we get to the point where we're going against our family to save a serial killer? It was just so stupid. Doll Hands is a serial killer. My pants were getting tight over a serial killer. Kenji is going to love this. Like, okay, I get the line is trying to be funny. But please, I know that she's right-handed. She recently discovered she doesn't like tomatoes. Direct sunlight sometimes makes her sneeze. He literally knows nothing about HER. Then of course Warnet was just their perfect Warnet selves with a little twist. He. I suspected it, but I didn't actually think it would happen. It's so odd reading about my babies like that. Anyways, it may seem as if I hated this book, but I did rate it 3 stars, so I didn't necessarily hate it. More like have many criticisms. I don't agree with the overall rating of this book. But to each their own, I guess. I'll obviously read the next one because HH 3 stars. I know you meant that as an insult. So consider yourself lucky I like you enough not to murder you for disrespecting my wife. Aaron MF Warren wrists late, so I am not gonna write a full review yet, but I am just gonna jot down some thoughts. The beginning had me hooked. Those two ISTG described each other as beautiful or breathtaking, or whatever. Every single chapter could get past the attraction at first sight in the beginning, but it was being shoved down my throat. James is literally Kenji 2.0, but more annoying, though there may be reasoning behind that. So this may not be a conway. Did James put Rossable above his family? How could they have properly developed a relationship when even James admitted that they sat in silence most of the time? Don't delude yourself, James. You literally called her a serial killer and now you think she's in love with you, 30-year-old. Warneri need to reread Shatter Me because I didn't hate Warnet in this book like I did in the last few books in the series. RTC, this gorgeous queen just came into the mail today. I got the exclusive from Amazon and it's stunning. Okay, so I just read a little snippet of what's gonna happen in this book, and how the hell did sweet little James end up in jail? Flashbacks to shatter me. Book 1 from G. The cover is gorgeous. I heard that this is about James, and I think I remember who that kid is, but I was honestly hoping this would be a Kenji book, but still so excited. Patricia, who has 118 likes, says 2.5. It's simple logic if we believe our choices are our own, if we do not know we are being bent into obeisance, we will not be tempted to revolt. My thoughts being back in the Shatter Me world was quite comforting, especially since it was really fun to read about the Og trio, particularly Kenji, Idgaf, Ab Warner again, and I genuinely think it was the best part of the entire book. I am never forgiving Tahereh for what she did to Kenji Nazira though. As for Watch Me itself, I think it was a pretty easy read to get through, especially since Tahereh's writing style is quite addictive. But while I enjoyed Jamis Pav, I found Rose's one to be painfully boring. Also, I felt like the world wasn't fully developed, and there are still many unanswered questions, like world building, who characters. Rossable Wolf, she kinda reminded me of Juliet. But other than that, I feel like we don't know anything about her except the fact that she's been dead inside for years. Because she brought it up like every 5 seconds. But no, girl, you're not. It doesn't even hold up. Rosa was basically infatuated with James the very first time she laid her eyes on him, and got flustered every single time he looked at her. And as far as I am concerned, neither of those things is being numb nor emotionally shut off. Moreover, she basically melted when he so much as breathed. And what was this "he makes me feel alive" speech? Girl, you've known him for like 2 days. Her chapters were also longer, there were more of them, so was that a misery? She was so completely and utterly bland. Like, girl, get some personality. James Anderson. James, babe, if you say that you'll destroy Rosa when she messes with your family, then own up to your words and don't go blindly trusting her, taking her side whenever you get a chance. Be for real. He's basically naivety incarnate. Like, what even was that "trust me" speech? Anywho, James is a mix of Kenji Aaron, like YK, with the looks of Warner but the personality of Kenji. Yeah, that's James. He was so unintentionally funny, which made his Pav hilarious at times. Especially when Kenji or Warner made an appearance. Unlike Rosa, he had always something to say. And it was really fun to read about him until he turned into brainless bubble of naivety. Rossable and Jamis, aren't they just the most ethereal looking people walking on this earth? Ugh. How surprising. Anyways, I feel scammed. They were marketed as enemies to lovers. And there was nothing of this sort here. But I could have seen that coming, especially since authors nowadays try to sell anything as this trope. Their relationship from the beginning to the end of this book felt like a total fever dream. They met like twice but acted like they were already planning their future together and couldn't stop rambling about how the other one was gorgeous. The Insta attraction wasn't really it. What's more, there even wasn't any relationship development on their part. Like, why do they even like each other besides their looks? They gave me absolutely nothing. There was no tension, angst, or chemistry between them. I mean, even my cats have more chemistry with each other.